Oh, Colts Nation, here it is. The entire season all boils down. The culmination of it all is this Saturday against the Houston Texans. And if you are not excited for this game, like you have a newborn child on the way, you might just not be a Colts fan. I don't know what to tell you if this game doesn't have you completely ecstatic. This has all the makings to be the game of the week. And I mean, Lord, isn't this everything that makes football great? If you were to look at the schedule at the start of the season, go all the way to week 18, and look at the Colts versus the Texans and tell someone that is going to be for a playoff berth, that is going to be the game of the week that week, I mean, people would call you absolutely crazy. Games like this are what make football so amazing. I mean, the NFL is a beautiful sport, right? Unlike basketball or baseball or hockey, where, it's a 7-game series. The best team is always guaranteed to win. The NFL is one game any given Sunday, or in this case, Saturday, at all times. It's everything that makes the league so great. Just when you think you know everything, just when you think you have the answers, just when you think that your opinion and your prediction is as sound as it can possibly be, this league has a way of proving you wrong. This right here is going to be the game of the week. Listen, if you like underachievers, if you like teams that disappoint, the Bills and Dolphins is the game for you. But if you like overachievers, if you like everything that makes the NFL what it is, this game right here with the Colts and the Texans is absolutely the game of the week. Now, I'm going to be honest. These days, as a Colts fan, I am very, very careful with how I talk about these Houston Texans. Anyone that knows me well, my friends, and before I even had a show that I was bringing to you, I always had this thing I said where, like, there's only 3 teams in the AFC South: the Titans, the Colts, and the Jaguars. Like, the Texans, like, are not even a real team. There's only 31 teams in the NFL, right? That's how I've always viewed it. Now, it just goes to show how quickly things can change in this league. But despite that, I'll tell you, I really, really feel that the Colts are going to come into this game with a serious amount of energy, right? All the talk right now in Colts Nation are about these Pro Bowl snubs. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., all this talk, right? People say, oh, the MVP is only a quarterback award. Not making a case for Michael Pittman to win MVP. That's not my point. But that award, despite the fact that it's just turned into, oh, this is like the most overpowering force in football award, it is the most valuable player award. And Michael Pittman Jr. is as valuable to this Colts offense as any player is for any team in all of the NFL. The fact that he did not make the Pro Bowl, in my opinion, is complete disrespect. Zaire Franklin leading the league in tackles coming into this week. Back-to-back franchise record seasons in tackles for the Indianapolis Colts. The heart and soul of this team, make no mistake, is Zaire Franklin. A Pro Bowl alternate? Disrespect. We have been ahead of this Houston Texans team for practically the entire season, including us beating the living hell out of them in week 2. Yet for some reason, they get all of the love. We have consistently been overlooked by a worse team than us because they have a rookie sensation in CJ Stroud. Disrespect. He's on record calling the city of Indianapolis weak, right? A city, a fan base that was ready to welcome him in with open arms. Like 90% of Colts Nation wanted this guy to be our quarterback, calls him weak. Disrespect. The disrespect to this Colts team has been coming all season long. It's coming from every single direction. Pause, right? And if I can feel that disrespect, if I feel disrespected on behalf of this Colts team, you can only imagine what that locker room is like going into this week with one of the most unlikely playoff berths in recent memory in the NFL on the line. What an opportunity this is for the Indianapolis Colts to stick it to everyone. All the talking heads that had us as a garbage team coming into the season, saying we had the worst roster in football. People saying that our GM needs to get fired, right? All of this stuff. Everyone counted us out. CJ Stroud himself has disrespected us. What an opportunity, right? And make no mistake, This game right here is going to be won by the team that wants it more. Now, I know that is a cliche that gets tossed around a lot, but this game right here is going to go to the team that is more prepared, not only to beat the opposition, but more prepared to impose their will on the opposition. And as I just think I laid out pretty well, the Colts have all of the fuel they can possibly need coming in to a game of this magnitude. Must I say anything else to get you absolutely ecstatic for this game? Again, if you're not just literally like shaking in your seat, right? Like ready to just jump out of your seat, I don't think that you're a Colts fan, right? I mean, this game is everything. I can't remember the last time I was this excited for a Colts game. Not even in the season with Carson Wentz at the end of the year was I this excited. I mean, I just like this team more. I like our coach. I like our quarterback. Yes, I like Gardner Minshew better than I like Carson Wentz. Sue me. I think I just prefer him. What do you want me to say? Carson Wentz, hits you with all these expectations. He looks like Patrick Mahomes one day, and then whoever else the next, right? But one game on a single Saturday night. The entire season comes down to one single night. My birthday night, may I add. My birthday is January 6th. I'm going to be turning 27 years of age. So this right here is about to be the best birthday I've ever had, or perhaps one of the worst. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see. But before we do that, we're going to have to talk about the game. So we're going to go in this order. We're going to go through the injury report. Then we're going to touch on the offensive side of the ball and kind of how I'm viewing that. And then the defensive side of the ball, all the same. Let's get into it. But before we do, you know what it is. I have to introduce myself. My name is Justin. This right here is the Ride in the Bench Colts podcast, not Colts Cast, Colts podcast. Minor change. For those of you who have been around, you know what I'm talking about. All I ask is that anyone who is enjoying this video, YouTube, go ahead, shoot it a like. It's going to help me get out to as many people, as many Colts fans rather, as humanly possible. If you're listening to the audio version, 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening would go a very long way. If you want to subscribe over here on YouTube, we are at about, what is it? I don't know, 2,000 now? I mean, that is incredible. I remember, listen, I have no delusions about the size of the channel. Okay, 2,000 isn't like a world's worth of people, but I remember being at like $130, like 200. Like, I really remember being absolutely nothing. And to see how this thing has grown and to see the support you guys give is absolutely wonderful. I appreciate it greatly. But most importantly, let's just enjoy the episode, right? Let's enjoy the process and let's enjoy the last podcast of the regular season. We're going to start with the injury report. Good news for the Colts is that Kenny Moore, Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, Quentin Nelson, Zach Moss all look like they are going to play this Saturday. Chris Lamons, who I thought had a really nice week last week in the absence of Kenny Moore. I mean, talk about taking advantage of an opportunity. You could not do any more or could not expect any more than what Chris Lamons was able to put on the field last week against the Raiders. He did not log a single practice all week. Texans injuries, on the other hand, we will get to throughout the course of the episode where I feel they are important to mention. But spoiler alert, it's looking pretty good for the Indianapolis Colts in terms from the perspective of Texans injuries, if that makes any sense at all, right? So offensively, the Indianapolis Colts, here's what we're looking at, right? You look at the Houston defense, the way they have been able to turn this thing around with DeMeco Ryans, who, by the way, other than Shane Steichen, had to be my favorite coach coming in to this season. Now, Shane Steichen, I believe, is one of the top 3 to 5 head coaches in football today, right now. DeMeco Ryans may not be very far behind. He was able to take one of the worst run defenses in football last season and flip it into one of the best going into the season. They are top 3 in yards per game allowed and number 2 in yards per carry, right? This is allowed, of course. I'm talking about the Texans defense. Now, that doesn't mean we can't run the football against the Texans at all. That doesn't mean just start airing it out, right? I mean, after all, Zach Moss did average nearly 5 yards per carry against this team in week 2, albeit they weren't quite the same Texans we are seeing at this point in the season. But what those numbers do say, what they do speak to, is the fact that it is not going to happen. We are not going to run the football well against this team if we don't come out there with the right mentality, if we don't come out there ready to punch this team in the mouth. Now, as far as the passing game goes, if you remember, when Gardner Minshew came in for Anthony Richardson, this is the one where Anthony had the concussion, right? He ran for 2 touchdowns early against the Texans. He was able to come into that game and complete over 80% of his passes against this defense. This Texans defense, that same Texans defense, is 7th, or rather the bottom 7 they've allowed more passing yards than all but 7 teams in the NFL, all but 6 teams. I don't even know how the fuck to say that. They've allowed the 7th most, the 7th least. You get my point? They're a bad passing defense. That's my entire point. They've been bad all season. But much like us, the similarities that we have to this Texans defense, whatever they lack in coverage, they're going to make up for. They've been making up for in the pass rush and the turnover department. Now, with that being said, Jonathan Greenard, their leader in sacks this season, has been ruled out against the Indianapolis Colts. Number 2 in sacks for the Texans is Will Anderson. He has not played since week 14 because of an ankle injury. He was only able to log 1 limited practice coming into this game. Now, I get the feeling he's going to play, but between that time off and the fact that he was really unable to practice for most of this week, you do wonder maybe he'll be compromised on some level. I don't know, but I do expect him to be out there. Either way, this is the bottom line. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, Gardner Minshew, for starters, has been playing his best football at the right time. That has to continue. We have JT and Zach Moss going into this game against the Texans. How many times have we been able to say we have both of those guys in our backfield going into a game? We have all of our wide receivers, a top 10 scoring offense in football. There is no excuse for the Indianapolis Colts to do anything else but come out here and put on a clinic against the Texans defense. If you ask me, we should drop 24 plus points in this game. I believe we're averaging just about 24. I believe 23.6 for all the nerds out there. That is the number we are averaging points per game. No excuse for it to be any different in this game. In my opinion, this one comes down to the defense, right? And on that side of the ball, I mean, we are as healthy as we can possibly be coming into this game against the Texans. And you look back to week 2, if we're to throw it back one more time, at how they played in that game, pretty damn good. I believe the score was like 31-3 before they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and the Texans actually came surging back a little bit. I think the game was 31-20 final score. Someone check me on that, right? Now, that being said, 6 sacks we had in that game, right? Now, that wasn't the same Texans team, and they did not have Laramie Tunsil, who is one of the premier tackles in this game. This week, looking a little similar on that front. Now, Laramie Tunsil, geez, I mean, my nose right now is like, I mean, how many times have I, gosh, I'm just going to take a moment to do it. How many times have I scratched my nose in this one? I just can't get over it. Whatever. Fucking shit. Right in the middle of the episode, right? Sorry, guys. Live to recording. That's how we do it around here, right? But Laramie Tunsil, 1 limited practice this week, much like Will Anderson. Now, instead of an ankle injury, he's dealing with a little bit of a cock injury. I mean, dealing with a little bit of a groin injury. Maybe he should reach out to his former teammate, Deshaun Watson, to see how he could get some help with that one, right? But with what I feel I know about the game, despite the fact that he's going to go in there compromised on some level, Laramie Tunsil should play this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Everything is on the line. The guys are going to be out there if they can. Now, we'll see how much that injury affects him, but I do expect him to be out there, right? Despite that, he's been on the field for much of the season. This Texans team has been allowing sacks all season long. They've got no Tank Dell, no Noah Brown, no Robert Woods. That's 3 of their top 4 wide receivers to start this season out. This secondary, outside of Nico Collins, I'm talking about our secondary, the Colts secondary, is looking at John Mechie and some guy named Xavier Hutchinson as the top receivers on this Texans team. Now, of course, Dalton Schultz cannot be forgotten here, but you'll look at that and you look at what we have. You look at how healthy we are coming into this week. You do wonder if we were to mix in just a little bit of man defense just to see how these guys would fare, these receivers, at getting open for CJ Stroud, right? Maybe we get a couple coverage sacks. Now, ultimately, we know that that's highly unlikely. Gus Bradley's going to do what Gus Bradley does. He's going to play the zone defense all day long. He's going to rush for and only for as much as he possibly can. But for me, Juju Brents, Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore, Nick Cross, Ronnie Harrison Jr., as if they're watching. I'm going to pretend they're watching or listening, right? This is your episode. I botched it. Damn it. This is your game to lose on defense, period. Are you guys going to make some plays or are you not going to make some plays? Because Nico Collins is a one-man show this week out there at wide receiver on the outside. Dalton Schultz, I'm curious to see how our safeties match up. I think we have two guys in Nick Cross, Ronnie Harrison Jr., who have the size to match up with Dalton Schultz. I'm really curious to see Ronnie Harrison Jr., who played linebacker for a decent part of the season. He's a pretty versatile guy. He may end up being a key piece in stopping Dalton Schultz, or at least slowing him down. You know Schultz is going to produce. You just know. Against his own defense, with how depleted they are at wide receiver, you know Dalton Schultz is going to come out here and play. But let's see if Ronnie Harrison Jr. can get a body on him. But matchups aside, forget it all, right? X's and O's, forget all that shit. You're looking at a situation where the opposing team in the Houston Texans needs their rookie QB to play a biblical game for this offense to get the ball going. It's going to be up to him, or it's even going to be up to the receivers. It's going to be up to him and the receivers to find the holes in this zone, one, which will happen, but will they be on the same page? A lot of what it comes down to with these routes against zone coverage is there is some room for, what's the word? I don't know. There's a little bit of leeway with exactly where in the space you're running a lot of the times when it comes to route running against a zone defense. Curious to see if Stroud and these boys are on the same page. I certainly would expect Stroud to come ready to play. Let's see if the receivers come ready to play. Nonetheless, if you ask me, this is an absolutely golden opportunity for the Indianapolis Colts defense to come out here, make a splash, and show the world what the fuck they are made of on primetime football. Everything is on the line for this team. All eyes on them. The entire season has been about overcoming the odds, proving people wrong, resilience, grit, all of those things, right? We have all of our horses, or as many of them as we can possibly expect to have at this point in the season coming into this game. The Texans are missing a lot of their horses, yet they are still the favorite. The disrespect. That's the theme. The disrespect. This is exactly where the Colts have excelled all season. This is exactly where we want to be. If we can simply contain this running game, which has been one of the worst in the season, or rather one of the worst in the league all year long, at best, this offense of the Texans has been subpar. If we can just not let them do anything they should not do against us on the ground, it's going to be C.J. Stroud versus this pass rush with a depleted wide receiving core. And Gus Bradley, who has coached, despite what all of you want to say about him, has coached some of the best defenses we have seen in the past 10 to 15 years in this league, period. We should be good to go. This has all the ingredients of a Colts win. In my opinion, it's their game to lose, yet Vegas opened the line at -1 for the Colts, and the money around the league, right? Once the line moves, those are the bettors. The bettors are betting on the Texans. And you know what? I don't blame them. When it comes down to these types of games where it's just one game for all the marbles, I tend to side with the quarterback. But something about this Colts team, man, it just cannot end right here. It's just one of those seasons. I've been right about this team. Hate to take a victory lap. I was the only person in all of Colts media who came in and said this team could be a wild card team, period. I said I expected them to be fighting for this 7th seed. I was the only one who said that. And as we get to this point in the season, I'm not backing off now. This is a Colts win. Could not be any more excited for this game. And I can imagine you guys feel the same. And that's about all I got. I mean, I am fucking amped up for this game. I'm amped up for this game like I'm about to go out there and play myself. Now, I'm not. I'm about to sit on the couch with a beer and watch it like the rest of you. But nonetheless, I mean, it is what it is, right? That's the whole episode. That's the entire game preview. The next time you'll see me is either going to be amazing, a celebration, or it's going to be time to retool and kind of rethink how we're going to approach this show, going into essentially an off season, right? I mean, everything, the trajectory of the Colts season and this show all hinges on this game on my birthday. I mean, what else can you possibly ask for, right? It's what football is all about. This is what we watch for. That's it. That's the episode. My name is Justin. This right here was the Ride in the Bench Colts podcast. Like, subscribe, leave a review if you have not done those things yet. If you'd be kind enough, that'd be great. But most importantly, let's go Colts.